we look forward to. And it's my pleasure to introduce, to start us off, our director from UNESCO Jakarta, Professor Khan, with his opening remarks. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hans, and dear colleagues of IHP. It's a great day. We are meeting together to search for answers which are in the water. So I very warmly welcome Professor Zhongbo, you, the Vice Chair of Asia Pacific region, and all the eminent speakers who will be speaking today to explore what are those answers and what are the questions to begin with as well. This is a follow-up to our meeting, which was held in May, on 19th of May, for the Asia Pacific region to look into how UNESCO science family can help us answer some of the greatest challenges, which are posed by COVID, of course, but also very importantly, we have to continue to work on 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, leaving no one behind. And immediately when we have the COVID crisis, there was a ministerial meeting in Paris where many of these ideas were scoped, and water came out as one of the key areas. If we work together, we can find many answers to many of the problems we are facing. So as we know, COVID has caused many impacts on our lives. And one of those impacts is we are now working more in teleworking environments. We are meeting with each other through facilities like Zoom today. We are using Facebook Live. And also we are reaching many colleagues who are not normally part of such meetings. So I welcome all colleagues who are joining us with the Zoom facility, with the Facebook Live. All students are most welcome. They should be able to see how IHP works. Before the COVID came on board, we already had a major problem with the water resources. SDG number 6, as we know, is about water security, and water and sanitation are at the heart of it. So if we look into Asia Pacific region, we had serious challenges of sanitation. For example, more than 1.5 billion people as of 2018 did not have safe sanitation. We have improved water supply, but still the people which are low income people, there is huge disparity. They have least of the water security and the least of the access, the people who are the lowest income. So as the COVID has come in, we have these social inequalities, especially related to water, and also the inequalities related to gender, even more profound than ever. So SDG 6 is lacking before COVID, and now after COVID, the role of washing hands, role of having water supply when we need it, the water, energy, food nexus have become a lot more important. So all those challenges have become bigger and bigger. But also very importantly, at this time, the economies have slowed down. And we have seen the impacts of economies which were more than 7% year-on-year growth. They have gone into negative growth rates. So there is a big challenge for the economy as well. So our big challenge is, how do we make sure that investments in water continue? So IHP, as the international to intergovernmental program now, which we will discuss in a moment, has many challenges to answer. So if we look into the stimulus packages which are being offered in our region, governments are spending huge amounts of the GDP on the stimulus to get out of the COVID-related slowdown and the whole economy slowdown. And those packages are anywhere from 0.1% to 20% of the GDP. So it's not a small investment from the governments. So that's where we need to look into how much is needed to provide water security and to find answers in water. According to the World Resources Institute, there is very interesting data that if we use 1% of world's GDP on the whole, which is roughly about 29 cents per capita per day, we can provide water security to everybody. But also very importantly, if we invest $1 in water, the return would be more than $6.8. So water offers a very important part for the stimulus. So it should not be only the industrial growth. It should not be moving back into an economy where the fossil fuels dominate. Water investments are more important than ever. And for the Asia Pacific region, for water security, as well as the sanitation related matters are very, very urgent. I also want to draw your attention that this region have huge differences in terms of water availability. So there are many nations in Asia Pacific region where the water resources are so stressed that we are clearly a water stressed region in most part of Asia Pacific. So from where the water can come, this is a very big issue for us. And that's a challenge for the answers for providing resilience against pandemics like COVID, but at the same time providing water which is much needed to even accelerate our performance on the SDGs. So very importantly, first answer is, it's not necessarily the new water. The inefficiencies in the system, the leakages in the system, both urban water and rural water are so huge. We need to think about integrated water resource management, and we need to make IWRM related solutions as part of the packages and the stimulus. So I really want you to carefully think about those aspects where we can put more emphasis for building back better, a greener future, and making sure that we are not going to make the mistakes which were when we had the economic slowdown and there were stimulus at that time, and that become more like a fossil intensive. We have to slow down on our carbon related footprints. So that's one area, and that's where, as at the last General Conference of UNESCO, IHP became an intergovernmental program. There's a very big difference from international hydrological program to intergovernmental program. So which means now we should mobilize all the related ministries of water resources. We should mobilize all our intellectual power from the best universities who are working with us, at the same time working with the civil society and becoming the reliable sources of information for the governments for policy related matters, but also building capacity. That's where IHP 9, for which you have already contributed, is very, very important. And I'm very pleased to note that in IHP 9, the emphasis stays on water security. And the emphasis stays in how can we educate people better, but at the same time looking into the shocks which the water related industries are going to face. So while we are trying to find answers in water, I would say our intergovernmental program, which is the International Hydrological Program turned into Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, needs to really provide those evidence and advices which are needed for having proper kind of investments from the government. Lastly, let me also come back to our region again. We have very important investments from governments such as government of Japan, from the Chinese government, from our colleagues from Korea. We need to work very, very closely with all these governments with our coordination mechanisms. I'm very pleased to note that the contributions we are going to make to the World Water Forum and through Asia Pacific Water Forum, through Asia Water Council, we need to bring these challenges and these issues together. And I really look forward to not only the academic part of our IHP, we have to become more the policy-oriented program, which should offer solutions to the governments, offer solutions to the local governments, to the civil society, from building simplest of the solutions for conserving water, for saving water, to make more water available to urban and rural populations, providing real water security, improving water governance, improving transparency of investments, and making sure that really there is a better future, building better than what we have before, and not turning to the same old. And that's the role which this meeting should play critically. From what we come out from here, we should have a clear roadmap where we should put our emphasis on that we are going to work on these 4 or 5 projects, which will guide us to help the governments in the region with the United Nations system as a whole, with the governments at the national level, at the provincial, and at the local government level, empowering young people, empowering all genders, and making sure we don't leave anyone behind. Don't forget the SDG 6. SDG 6 will need a special emphasis now with the post-COVID situation. So welcome to the meeting, and I look forward to listening from all of you on where are those solutions.